heaven, West Virginia.
Podcast host Joe Rogan issues an apology over the controversy surrounding his content. One America's Stephanie Myers has that story.
I am going to do my best in the future to balance things out. I'm going to do my best. But my point of doing this is always just to create interesting conversations and ones that I hope people enjoy. So if I pissed you off, I'm sorry. And if you enjoy the podcast, thank you.
Joe Rogan of the Joe Rogan Experience podcast apologizes and pledges a more balanced show after many attacked him over his interviews with Dr. Peter McCullough and Robert Malone over COVID-19 vaccines. The recent interviews prompted Grammy-winning singer Neil Young demanding last week that Spotify remove his music from the streaming service in response to, quote, fake information about vaccines. Young specifically called out Rogan's podcast, giving Spotify an ultimatum to either remove Rogan or his music. Spotify chose the latter. It's important to note, though, the company acquired exclusive streaming rights to the show in 2020 in a deal reportedly worth more than $100 million. Even after Spotify fulfilled Young's request, he didn't back down. The rock singer is urging other artists and record companies to remove their content off Spotify in order to, quote, stop supporting Spotify's deadly misinformation about COVID. And other singers have now followed his lead, including folk singer Joni Mitchell and Nils Lofgren. In a nearly 10-minute video posted on Instagram Sunday, Rogan addressed the controversy over artists pulling their music.
I'm very sorry that they feel that way. I most certainly don't want that. I'm a Neil Young fan. I've always been a Neil Young fan.
Rogan said he's not mad at Neil Young, but he defended his interviews, saying he wanted to speak with Drs. McCullough and Malone because they had a different perspective.
Both these people are very highly credentialed, very intelligent, very accomplished people, and they have an opinion that's different from the mainstream narrative. I wanted to hear what their opinion is.
Rogan added he doesn't know if the doctors are right or not. He's just trying to have authentic conversations.
And I'm not trying to promote misinformation. I'm not trying to be controversial. I've never tried to do anything with this podcast other than just talk to people.
If Spotify's business practices are telling, it seems as though the streaming service is focused more on podcasts than music. Spotify has 172 million subscribers and 381 million monthly users. Factor in the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, which has an estimated 11 million listeners per episode and is exclusively streamed on Spotify. And Spotify reportedly overtook Apple Podcasts last year to become the largest podcast provider in the U.S. Many are defending Joe Rogan, such as former Representative Justin Amash, who tweeted, "The problem isn't Joe Rogan, it's people who demanded submission to their views and seek to silence others rather than persuade." This echoes Rogan's message.
The problem I have with the term misinformation, especially today, is that many of the things that we thought of as misinformation just a short while ago are now accepted as fact. Like, for instance, 8 months ago, if you said, if you get vaccinated, you can still catch COVID and you can still spread COVID, you would be removed from social media. They would ban you from certain platforms. Now, that's accepted as fact.
The podcast host also cited other examples, such as a flip-flop messaging on cloth masks and the Wuhan lab leak theory. However, Rogan added he would like to see Spotify add a disclaimer, which the streaming service had announced it would implement, and he will do his best to get people with differing opinions on his podcast.
One of the things that Spotify wants to do that I agree with is that at the beginning of these controversial podcasts, like specifically ones about COVID, is to put a disclaimer and say that you should speak with your physician and that these people and the opinions that they express are contrary to the opinions of the consensus of experts, which I think is very important.
Rogan ended his apology with this message, saying it's all about perspective.
Thank you, all the supporters, and even thank you to the haters, because it's good to have some haters. It makes you reassess what you're doing and put things into perspective, and I think that's good too.
Stephanie Myers, One America News.
All right, guys, that's the end of the video, and in my opinion, Joe Rogan and Spotify, they have gave in to the mob and gave them what exactly they wanted. And that is to make them bend the knee and do what they want them to do. Of course, they didn't go as far as I'm sure most people want them to go by getting rid of the podcast altogether, which I'm happy about that. But putting a disclaimer on there and try to make it more balanced, I don't even know what that means, because all he's doing is having conversations with people, and they're natural and organic conversations, and these people don't like it because it doesn't fit their worldview. Well, if you don't like it, don't watch it. You know, I mean, no one's forcing you to. But yet, you have Neil Young, Joni Mitchell, and the rest of them complaining, crying, I want my music off of Spotify. Well, you know what? Spotify ain't making any money off you anyway. So fine, take it. We don't want you on there. I'm not listening to either one of them. I'm listening to Joe Rogan and the people he has on. Now, is some of his viewpoints not right, in my opinion? Yes. But you know what? I believe he has a right to express them and say what he wants to say, regardless if I agree with it or not. But guys, that's my opinion. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. Peace.